Hi, VencoreWeather.com. Meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Thursday, March 1st. We have a major storm to deal with here in the Mid-Atlantic region over the next couple of days. The brunt of the storm will take place on Friday and Friday night. We'll have anything from heavy rain to the potential for heavy snow, even blizzard-like conditions in some areas, damaging wind gusts of perhaps 60 miles per hour or so all along the I-95 corridor region from D.C. to Philadelphia to New York City. The combination of the extreme wind gusts and potential wet snow will certainly cause a possibility of numerous power outages later tomorrow into tomorrow night. The very strong winds will continue into early Saturday, but then they'll begin to diminish later in the day on Saturday. This is a look at the latest watches and warnings from the National Weather Service in the general Mid-Atlantic region. When you see lots of colors, it's not a good sign. Indeed, we have winter storm watches up in the higher elevations of northeastern Pennsylvania, for example, into southern New York. Higher elevation locations could very well get a tremendous pounding by heavy wet snow later tomorrow into tomorrow night. Places like the Poconos and the Catskills, for example, we have high wind watches and warnings throughout the area, again, extending all the way from Virginia up to New York and into New England. High winds will be a major factor with this particular powerful ocean storm that will form. Along the coast, we have all kinds of warnings and watches. A storm warning off the coast, perhaps hurricane-force wind gusts at the coastline, and coastal flood advisories as well up and down the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast coastline, and even flash flood watches. There very well will be some heavy rain in parts of the area in the initial stages of this particular storm. So a major storm to deal with, and let's go through some of the details over the next few minutes. Well, perhaps the most difficult part of this forecast will be the snowfall accumulation amounts. Everybody will get rain and decent rain at that. Everybody, it looks like, in the I-95 corridor will get damaging wind gusts of up to 60 miles per hour or so, but exactly how much snow falls and where that will occur is perhaps the toughest part of the forecast. May not know the real details of that until tomorrow morning. We'll give it a preliminary estimate right now. This is the total snowfall amount from the 6Z NAM model, the 12-kilometer version of the NAM model. I favor the high-resolution models this close to the event time in this particular type of scenario where we will have a deepening ocean storm. I think the NAM model does pretty well, perhaps better than the GFS at this particular point. In other words, I tend to agree with much of what I see here in terms of the total snowfall amount. First of all, let's go kind of from south to north here. Across D.C., probably no snow in the district itself, but in areas to the east, Prince George's County, especially Anne Arundel County, and areas to the north and east of there over the Delmarva Peninsula, certainly can be a changeover or a mixing with sleet and snow in some of those areas well to the north and east of the district during the day on Friday, maybe even a coating to an inch or two up to the Delmarva Peninsula region. Now, across southeastern Pennsylvania, southern New Jersey, certainly have the possibility of a few inches of snow. And in fact, there's a possibility of blizzard-like conditions in the Philadelphia metro region, especially to the north and west of Philly, all the way down into New Jersey. What I mean by that, there can be a brief period of heavy snow with strong winds. So again, a few inches possible in this region right here, all the way down to the coastline. Across New York City, upstate New Jersey, certainly several inches possible, and especially the higher elevation regions of the interior sections of northwestern New Jersey. The higher elevation areas will do really well in terms of the snowfall on Friday and Friday night. Places like the Poconos and all the way up to the Catskills certainly can get a foot or more of snow. This may very well be the bullseye area for snow across the New York-Pennsylvania border into those higher elevation regions from the Poconos up to the Catskills, that entire New York Thruway area, pummeled by heavy wet snow during the day on Friday, maybe even have to close down. So again, elevation is a crucial factor in terms of who may get the snowfall, the heaviest snowfall on Friday. Places like the Poconos, northwestern New Jersey, and the Catskills are in for a lot of snow. Another factor to weigh in terms of pinpointing those snowfall totals will be where the upward motion will be the greatest, the dynamics. This particular system has very little, if any, cold air to work with in the initial stages. In fact, it's 50 degrees out there right now, and it will go up into the 50s throughout the I-95 corridor today. No strong high-pressure system to the north. However, this system off the coast will rapidly intensify to the point where it'll generate its own air, cold air, through what we call dynamical cooling. There's going to be such upward motion, such vertical motion associated with this particular system that when the air rises, it cools, and that very well could cause enough of a cool down in the atmosphere to change it from rain to sleet and snow during the day on Friday and into Friday night. We'll also likely have some mesoscale snow bands setting up here where some areas will be getting absolutely pummeled by heavy snow, but just nearby not so much. And it all depends on where the upward motion is the strongest, and we'll go into the details on that over the next couple of minutes. Well, let's now take a look at the 500 millibar level for the forecast maps of the 6Z NAM model. Again, this is the 12-kilometer version of the NAM on the overnight model run. And again, I favor these higher resolution models right now, like the NAM versus the GFS, as we get closer and closer to event time and with this dynamical situation that is unfolding. I think the NAM does pretty well with rapidly deepening coastal storms. And this very well could deepen something like 20 millibars over a 20-hour period. Very rapid intensification expected during the day on Friday, and that will in turn tighten the pressure gradient to the point that we will see 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts in D.C., Philadelphia, and New York City. Let's walk through this in hourly increments as we get into the day on Friday and point out some key factors here, and we'll see how this all evolves over the next couple of model runs. Here we are into this afternoon. Excuse me, lots of energy headed towards the Great Lakes and towards the Mid-Atlantic region in the upper part of the atmosphere. Now, what happens here is by late tonight, you have a spinning in the atmosphere over northwestern Pennsylvania, and that will tend to drop to the south and east to the point that by early tomorrow morning, right here, notice the center of this upper level low is right over Delmarva Peninsula, extreme southern New Jersey. This is a key factor here because basically it's associated with lots of upward motion, this upper level low. Exactly where that tracks and the intensity of the upper level low is crucial in terms of trying to depict where the vertical velocities will be the highest, the dynamical cooling will be the strongest. And in areas right near the track and to the north, that's where you have enough cold air and enough upward motion for the potential of heavy, wet, accumulating snow. And indeed, it looks like in general, across the Delmarva Peninsula, southern New Jersey, and points to the north have the best shot of getting this dynamics-based cooling and therefore the changeover to sleet and heavy, wet, accumulating snow. Places like eastern Pennsylvania, New Jersey, all the way up into New York, and throw in high elevation and you have an even better shot at the heavy, wet, accumulating snow. Places like northeastern Pennsylvania, the Poconos, interior northwestern New Jersey and northern New Jersey, and the Catskills up across southeastern New York. So this is a key factor here, and we'll monitor how things change involving that upper level low over the next few model runs here. Let's keep moving forward here into the day on Friday, and that just spins over here, and we've talked extensively about just tremendous high latitude blocking that is forming right now over Greenland and northern Canada. This upper level low and the surface low pressure area typically in a nor'easter moves to the north and east. In this case, it'll move a little bit to the north and east and run into an atmospheric brick wall. Because of that tremendous blocking pattern to the north, it'll be forced back southward, perhaps even take a looping fashion back towards the coastline. Let's keep moving forward here. There it goes up to the north, but now it's run into that brick wall and it is forced to go back to the south. That extends the time period in the I-95 corridor for precipitation and strong winds, and that all contributes to the problem, the potential for some power outages, the potential for significant waves to develop in the western part of the Atlantic. Eventually, later in the day Saturday, it pulls away to the south and east. Well, let's now take a look at the surface forecast maps. Again, it's using the 12-kilometer version of the NAM from 6Z. Let's just move ahead here. Here we go in hourly increments. Rain, a good spread into the D.C. metro region during the midday hours. Not a whole lot depicted here in the at the onset of this storm, but then by later in the afternoon, it could expand in coverage here. Again, the initial wave of energy in the upper part of the atmosphere heads towards the Ohio Valley. Some significant snow in places like Michigan, northern Ohio, northeastern Indiana. This initial main wave of low pressure will take a back seat to the ocean storm that will form late tonight and during the day on Friday. Let's keep moving forward here. Some rain, even heavy at times in the overnight hours in the I-95 corridor. And there goes that upper level low we saw track from northwestern Pennsylvania all the way down to the Delmarva Peninsula region, and that is kind of causing this jump in the low pressure area at the surface. Here we go. By early tomorrow, we have low pressure starting to rapidly intensify off the mid-Atlantic coastline. Again, it will deepen tremendously over a 24 hour period and start to slide to the north and east. But because of that tremendous blocking pattern over Greenland and to areas to the north, it cannot go any farther here up the coast. And it'll turn around and go to the south and southeast, perhaps take a loop in fashion in its track back towards the coast. Now notice all the blues here. This is now cold enough for snow up across upstate Pennsylvania into southern New York here. And as this drops to the south, this cold will drop to the south as well. And what can happen here is it's raining across Philadelphia, and then you look upstream. By upstream, I mean to areas to the north, the Poconos, Allentown, changing over to snow. It could just flood into the area with that changeover, very quickly go from rain to perhaps heavy wet snow for a while, and again, strong winds, even potential blizzard-like conditions all the way down in the Philly metro region, southern New Jersey later tomorrow. Let's keep moving forward here. Again, this storm runs into a brick wall and starts to dive to the south, and I notice here the cold air dropping all the way down into the Philly metro region, into the southern part of New Jersey. And as that storm pulls to the south, the snow continues to expand to the south and west, all the way into areas to the north and east of the district. But the Delmarva Peninsula can see some snow out of this, as well as certainly southern New Jersey here. And finally, notice the pressure gradient here. These black lines here represent lines of equal pressure, and the tighter the pressure gradient, and it's very tight on these particular time period later tomorrow night, the stronger the wind gusts. 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts possible in D.C., Philadelphia, New York City. It does not matter if you get snow or not. D.C. itself and areas just to the west of D.C. very likely to get no snow out of this, but they're very likely to get 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts, perhaps even more. So power outages possible everywhere. Perhaps some heavy rain followed by some heavy snow, even blizzard conditions possible in parts of the Mid-Atlantic region on Friday and Friday night. Again, two factors to determine the snow accumulation amounts. Elevation, places like the Poconos, Catskills could get incredible amounts of snow, perhaps even 1 to 2 feet. And where that upward motion is the strongest, near and just to the north of that upper level low feature here, the dynamics will help to cause cooling in the atmosphere, and that will help to cause a changeover from rain to snow in those particular areas. Let's just finally go a little bit farther in time here, and here we are Saturday morning. Precipitation is out of here. Storm slowly pulling away. The strong winds certainly remain going into and through Saturday morning, start to diminish during the afternoon. This is a stormy pattern setting up. We'll probably have another storm to deal with along the Mid-Atlantic coastline Later next week, around the 7th or 8th of March, perhaps another one 3 or 4 days after that, and perhaps even another one 3 or 4 days after that. Hang on here. It's going to be exciting over the next couple of weeks. Winter is not going to go away without a strong fight here now that we are into the month of March. So again, a major storm to deal with on Friday and Friday night. That's it for now. For VencoreWeather.com, I'm meteorologist Paul Dorian.